Canadian Bulldog from Wrestling Merchandise and Memories. That's merchandiseandmemories.com. And July is Rivalries Month here at Wrestling Merchandise and Memories, so we're counting down the top 50 Hulk Hogan rivalries. To be clear, these are all storyline rivalries and don't necessarily mean that there was any real heat outside the ring. In looking at the top 50 Hulk Hogan rivalries, we're looking at the following criteria. How prominent was the rivalry? What type of stage did it play out on? How memorable were the matches or segments? And how much did the rivalry do to advance either person's career? Just before we get started, wanted to let you know that Wrestling Merchandise and Memories has more than 100 unique top 50 lists on its site. Everything from wrestling rivalries to tag teams to WrestleMania moments. Check it out at bit.ly/top 50 lists. Number 50, Kamala. In the months leading up to WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan and Kamala had an intense rivalry on the house show circuit, including a series of no disqualification and steel cage matches. Number 49, Dr. D David Schultz. Hulk Hogan and David Schultz began their rivalry in the AWA and carried it over to the WWF, including some of Hogan's earliest world title defenses. Number 48, Antonio Inoki. Tag team partners in the early 1980s, Hulk Hogan defeated WWE Hall of Famer Antonio Inoki in the finals of a round-robin tournament in 1983 to become the first IWGP champion. Number 47, the Magnificent Muraco. WWE Hall of Famer the Magnificent Muraco was an early challenger to Hulk Hogan's first WWF World title on the house show circuit. Number 46, Triple H. WWE Hall of Famer Triple H had just recently captured the undisputed world title in 2002 when the game was programmed against Hulk Hogan in a face versus face matchup, and to many people's surprise, Hulk won the championship. Number 45, Kurt Angle. Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle clashed a handful of times in the mid-2000s, with Angle making the Hulkster tap out for the first time in his career. They were also on opposing sides several times in TNA. Number 44, Nikolai Volkoff. At the time of Hulk Hogan's first WWF World title reign, WWE Hall of Famer Nikolai Volkoff was the antithesis of Hulk Hogan's real American persona. The two clashed a number of times, including in a flag match on Saturday night's main event. Number 43, Greg the Hammer Valentine. WWE Hall of Famer Greg the Hammer Valentine was another early challenger to Hulk Hogan's first WWF World title reign, meeting him in Madison Square Garden about 6 months into his run. Number 42, Jeff Jarrett. Controversy surrounded WCW in 2000 when Hulk Hogan challenged WWE Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett for the WCW World title. While the match never happened, years later, Jarrett attacked Hogan while in TNA as part of a press conference in Japan. Number 41, Shawn Michaels. In 2005, WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels turned on Hulk Hogan following a tag team match. After several months of getting the fans to turn against him, the Heartbreak Kid took on Hogan in the main event of that year's SummerSlam. Number 40, the Dungeon of Doom. The Dungeon of Doom was created in WCW in 1995 with the express purpose of destroying Hulkamania. Members of the group included the Zodiac, the Shark, the Taskmaster, and others, who gave Hogan some challenges near the beginning of his first WCW title run. Number 39, Brother Love. Although he always said, "I love you," Brother Love never really seemed to love the Hulkster. The faux evangelist assisted Earthquake and Big Boss Man in separate attacks on Hulk Hogan, which in turn led to him being beaten up by the Hulkster on Saturday night's main event. Number 38, Brock Lesnar. A decade before Brock Lesnar ended The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, he left Hulk Hogan lying in a pool of his own blood during their 2002 matchup, a match that gave the winner the right to face The Rock at SummerSlam that year. Number 37, Big John Studd. Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Big John Studd met several times in the early to mid-1980s, both in singles and tag team matches. In fact, Hogan was one of only a few people that successfully answered Studd's $15,000 Body Slam challenge. Number 36, Dixie Carter. Hulk Hogan and Dixie Carter were portrayed as BFFs when Hogan first signed his TNA contract, but by the time Hogan and Eric Bischoff had created Immortal, one of their first acts was to remove Dixie from storyline power. Number 35, Big Van Vader. Vader and Hulk Hogan engaged in quite a feud in WCW in 1995, including 4 different pay-per-view bouts, all of which saw Hogan decisively win despite being at a significant weight disadvantage. Number 34, Jesse the Body Ventura. Forget about their legitimate behind-the-scenes rivalry. Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Jesse the Body Ventura clashed many times in the AWA and briefly in the WWF before the Body retired to the announcing booth, where he constantly berated Hogan on the microphone. Number 33, Big Boss Man. WWE Hall of Famer Big Boss Man once handcuffed Hulk Hogan to a guardrail and attacked him with a nightstick. The two battled many times, including a steel cage match on Saturday night's main event, and when Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage took on Big Boss Man and Akeem. Number 32, Diamond Dallas Page. In 1998, WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page rebelled against Hulk Hogan's NWO, including a pair of tag team matches that also involved celebrities. A year later, a now heel DDP put a newly turned face Hulk Hogan on the shelf with an injury. Number 31, the Iron Sheik. In many respects, Hulkamania was born in 1984 when Hulk Hogan defeated WWE Hall of Famer the Iron Sheik to win his first WWF World Championship. The two engaged in several bloody rematches around the house show circuit that year. Number 30, Terry Funk. One of Hulk Hogan's toughest challengers on the house show circuit following WrestleMania 2 was WWE Hall of Famer Terry Funk, who took the Hulkster to the limit and even defeated him by countout several times. Number 29, Sid Justice / Vicious. Sid Justice came into the WWF in 1991 as the second coming of Hulk Hogan, but just 6 months later, he turned on Hogan and challenged him at WrestleMania 8. A somewhat similar story happened in WCW later in the decade, once Sid had turned back into Sid Vicious. Number 28, Vince Russo. Although the real-life bad blood between Hulk Hogan and Vince Russo may be more fun to talk about, the storyline rivalry between these two happened between the Millionaires Club and Vince Russo's New Blood in 2000, which culminated in Russo firing Hogan in an unscripted moment at Bash of the Beach. Number 27, Mr. Perfect. WWE Hall of Famer Mr. Perfect chased Hulk Hogan all over the house show circuit in 1989 and 1990. To add fuel to the fire, Perfect aided his manager, The Genius, in gaining a countout victory over Hulkster on Saturday night's main event. Hogan and Perfect also battled again in the short-lived XWF. Number 26, Randy Orton. Outshining his father, Cowboy Bob Orton, who didn't even crack the top 50 despite having a rivalry with Hulk Hogan, Randy Orton hit on Hulk's daughter, Brooke, delivered an RKO to Hulk on Saturday night's main event, and mocked the Hogan Knows Best reality show, all in the name of a feud against Hogan at SummerSlam 2006. Number 25, Kevin Nash. Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash were 2/3 of the original NWO, but soon were at each other's throats. Things came to a head at Road Wild 99, while the two faced each other. A few years later, they reconciled in the WWE as the NWO before feuding again. Number 24, Billy Kidman. What began as a shoot comment by Hulk Hogan about Billy Kidman not being able to sell out a flea market turned into an in-ring war, with Kidman aligning himself with Hogan's former NWO allies Eric Bischoff, Torrie Wilson, and Horace Hogan. Although Hogan was dominant, Kidman got some wins over Hulk as well. Number 23, Yokozuna. At WrestleMania 9, Hulk Hogan challenged WWE Hall of Famer Yokozuna and defeated him for the WWF title in mere seconds. By King of the Ring that year, the 600-pound-plus Yoko regained the championship in Hogan's final WWF match in nearly a decade. Number 22, Lex Luger. Lex Luger arrived in WCW for the first Monday Nitro as a heel to challenge Hulk Hogan for his world title. While he wasn't successful, he was successful a few years later when Hogan was a member of the NWO. Number 21, King Kong Bundy. King Kong Bundy sneak attacked Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event in 1986 and injured his ribs. This led to a steel cage match in the main event of WrestleMania 2, as well as a pair of matches on Saturday night's main event. Number 20, Brutus Beefcake. Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Brutus Beefcake grew up in the business together and worked various territories, even pretending to be brothers at one point. But in WCW, Hogan was constantly being attacked by a masked man who turned out to be none other than Brother Brutai. Number 19, Bully Ray. Hulk Hogan barely trusted Bully Ray when the threat of aces and eights was threatening to tear TNA apart. But once Bully Ray began dating and married Hogan's daughter Brooke, the overprotective father went ballistic. Of course, Bully Ray ended up being the leader of aces and eights. Number 18, The Rock. It was icon versus icon when Hulk Hogan met The Rock at WrestleMania X8. Rock won after a hard-fought match, although the crowd was solidly behind the Hulkster. 1 year later, Rock would officially be a heel when the two went head-to-head again at No Way Out. Number 17, The Undertaker. WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker is the only person to defeat Hulk Hogan for the WWF/WWE World title twice, and in 2 different decades to boot. Number 16, Earthquake. In 1990, Earthquake viciously attacked Hulk Hogan on the Brother Love show and then left Hulk Hogan with bruised ribs. The two men feuded into early 1991, including matches at SummerSlam and Survivor Series. Number 15, Zeus. In one of the only storylines that was based on the outcome of a movie, Zeus appeared in WWF rings shortly after his film No Holds Barred came out, and he wanted a piece of his movie opponent, Hulk Hogan. The two clashed at SummerSlam in a tag team match, and again at a special No Holds Barred pay-per-view later that year. Number 14, The Giant. Initially being billed as the son of Andre, The Giant won the WCW World title from Hulk Hogan in his very first match. From there, they battled during an infamous monster truck rally on the roof of Cobo Hall and became on-again, off-again rivals during the days of the NWO. Number 13, Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan continually targeted Hulk Hogan during his WCW World title run, first through his Faces of Fear stable and later with the expanded Dungeon of Doom. Perhaps it was because Hogan once took Sullivan's younger brother Evad under his wing. Number 12, Vince McMahon. Real-life tensions between Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, which included being on opposing sides in a steroid trial and Hogan leaving WWF for the opposition, carried over into an in-ring feud in 2003. At WrestleMania 19, the two battled in a street fight that appeared to be far more personal than most rivalries involving the Hulkster. Number 11, Sergeant Slaughter. In 1991, WWE Hall of Famer Sergeant Slaughter portrayed an American turncoat supporting Saddam Hussein at the time of the First Gulf War. Slaughter faced off against Hogan at WrestleMania 7, and their feud lasted until SummerSlam that year. Number 10, Nick Bockwinkel. In 1982, Hulk Hogan challenged WWE Hall of Famer Nick Bockwinkel in a series of matches for the AWA World title. While he came close many times, it remains one of Hogan's few failed accomplishments. Number 9, The Ultimate Warrior. In 1990, WWE Hall of Famer The Ultimate Warrior did the seemingly impossible and cleanly pinned Hulk Hogan in the main event of WrestleMania 6. The two feuded nearly a decade later in WCW, with Hogan as part of the NWO. Number 8, The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase decided he didn't need to compete for Hulk Hogan's WWF World title, he'd buy it outright. Hogan spurned DiBiase's advances, but he wasn't laughing when DiBiase hatched a scheme that involved Andre the Giant and an evil twin referee. Number 7, Sting. For most of 1997, WWE Hall of Famer Sting stood silently in the rafters, waiting for his opportunity to defeat Hollywood Hulk Hogan and his New World Order. At Starrcade, the Stinger did just that. The two clashed again during a series of conflicts in TNA. Number 6, Paul Orndorff. WWE Hall of Famer Paul Orndorff opposed Hulk Hogan at the very first WrestleMania, though afterwards they decided to bury the hatchet and become a tag team. That team ended in 1986 when Orndorff betrayed Hogan, leading to a red-hot house show rivalry. Number 5, Ric Flair. How many rivalries have had main event spots in the WWF, WCW, and even TNA? Not many. Yet the battle for who is the biggest wrestling icon between Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair spanned many pay-per-views and house shows in singles action and tag team matches. Number 4, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Many of the rivalries we've mentioned so far, Bundy, Bockwinkel, Stud, Orndorff, have one common denominator. Each man was managed by WWE Hall of Famer Bobby the Brain Heenan. Heenan has said many times throughout his career that Hogan couldn't be trusted, even when they were both technically heels in WCW. Number 3, Andre the Giant. Hey, here's one more Bobby Heenan-inspired feud. In 1987, Heenan convinced Andre the Giant to turn heel for the first time in his career and challenge Hulk Hogan for the WWF World title at WrestleMania 3. The ensuing rivalry lasted right through to WrestleMania 4 and even included Andre temporarily winning the championship. Number 2, Randy Savage. The rivalry between Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Randy Macho Man Savage began when Savage joined the WWF in 1985. Fueled largely by the allegation that Hogan was lusting after his manager, Miss Elizabeth, Savage turned on Hogan in 1989, leading to their epic showdown at WrestleMania 5, and they kept battling on and off right through their stint in WCW. And number 1, Rowdy Roddy Piper. The first major confrontation between Hulk Hogan and WWE Hall of Famer Rowdy Roddy Piper took place on MTV in 1985, a match dubbed The War to Settle the Score, even though, ironically, it settled nothing. From WrestleMania in 1985 to Super Brawl 7 in 1997, Hogan and Piper have largely remained at each other's throats for a very long time. What did you think of our list? Would you have changed anything? Was there anybody that we're missing? Leave us a comment in the section below, and thank you very much for watching. For other top 50 lists, visit us at bit.ly/top50lists.